do a bit of an intro. So for Dan and Dani, Matt and Travis, my name is Brett McCrory, one of the teachers for the Certificate 4 in Building Studies. We've also got Andrew, who I mentioned before, at Albury. We've got Johnny Bridges at Miller, which is at Liverpool. Trevor Mullins. Hey, Trev. And that's it for the moment. I think Glenn's not in tonight. What we've got is we've got all of the students from the South region of New South Wales TAFE doing the Cert 4. And tonight we're going to have an exciting night for us. We're going to have Travis Redding from Tradiematepro with Matt Jones, I believe is Site Shed and Tradieweb guys. And you're going to interview Dan Riley and Danny Wales. I hope I've said that right. From the Block, Healthy Home Australia and Red Door Project. Is that right?
That's correct.
Oh, how good. That's a great
intro. First time.
All right, I'm going to hand over, guys. What we'll do is just a bit of housekeeping. All the students pretty much know. If you've got any questions, just throw them in the chat box, or if you prefer, just wait to the end because they're going to have a good chat about things, and then you can start throwing some questions, a bit of Q&A at the end. What do you reckon?
Yeah, definitely.
Right, brilliant. Go for it, guys. Thank you.
All righty. Well, g'day everyone, and good on you for showing up on a Thursday arvo. This is a bit of a new thing for us, I suppose, from the Tradiematepro community, but we're here today, I suppose, to add a bit of value from once being where you guys are. And so I suppose before we get started, I'd just like to also say, like, what you guys are doing is fantastic, and you can't possibly right now at this point in time know what sort of windows of opportunity are likely to open for you guys as entering into a trade. And I am a testament to it. Dan and Dani are a testament to it. I did my plumbing apprenticeship and I'm a licensed plumber by trade. And I actually started my Cert 4, you'll be happy to know, Brett, in building. And you'll probably be also happy to know that I didn't go through with it. But it does open up a lot of amazing windows of opportunity, guys. And I just encourage you, from where you're at now, be open and receptive to situations as they arise, because it can certainly take you down some interesting paths. Brett, all I'm seeing is you. Is that meant to be right?
We can see 9 people.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's me. Oh, there we go. I can see you. All right. No worries. Anyway. So anyway, guys, my name's Matt. I am, as Brett alluded to, I run a company called Tradieweb guys, and we do digital solutions for tradespeople. I also run a podcast. I don't know if you guys are in the space of getting your ears involved in some awesome audio content, but that's kind of my game of the last 5 or 6 years. So the Site Shed's Australia's largest business podcast for tradespeople. We've got over like 280 odd episodes or something recorded. Dan and Dani are joining us, and Dani is from Healthy Homes Australia, which is a television show, and Dan is on The Block, also a television show, neither of which I've seen, which I love to tell them regularly, but apparently they're big deals. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Pleasure, Matty.
Thank you.
Well done to everyone that's doing their Cert 4. That was me 5-6 years ago. I remember doing night school, doing the Cert 4. I'm not good at academic stuff. I hated it. But, it's the fundamentals of what you need to understand to go into a business. It's just a small scale of what you really need. So congratulations to everyone in taking that step. And for all those apprentices out there, it's good to hear that 90% of you are chippies, because we all know chippies run the show on site. So it's good to see there's so many of them. To all the others, good luck with all the trades. Our industry is the backbone of Australia. So I think you made the choice in jumping into our industry. There's going to be plenty of work from years to come. I know here in Melbourne, we're going to recover pretty strongly through the crisis. We're already getting a lot of prospective work for next year. So our industry is in steady hands right now.
And Matt, you thought that I was just going to talk all night.
Night's not over yet. Dan's just getting his words in while he can, I'm sure. So, guys, we're here as well. We're representing a program called Tradiematepro, which is essentially a business development program for trade businesses. And the whole, I suppose, premise behind Tradiematepro is to kind of help you guys pick up where you leave off with TAFE. And as I'm sure you guys know, like TAFE is an amazing resource to learn your trade. And the curriculum is quite focused on helping you develop your skills as a insert trade. However, what we're here to help you guys do is further develop the business side of that. Now, being that you guys are sort of entering into your cert, or most of you guys are almost completed cert 4. Would that be right to say, Brett, or getting close to?
Yeah, that's right. We've got 8 weeks left. We're doing structures, which is commercial, residential structures and materials. So we've got 8 weeks left. This is when they start getting cranky with us.
Yeah. Now, well, you know what, guys? Like, it's sort of, you're at that point now where you're getting to the stage in your career where you can essentially go and start a business, except for the fact that you don't have any idea how to start a business. So we're here, I suppose, to give you guys a bit of insight as to some of those things. And, as tradies, you guys, you get fantastic. You're fantastic at what you do, but, that doesn't always correlate into running successful businesses. You kind of have to start. You get to a point where you need to take off that hat of being the really good at swinging hammers and laying pipe, and you've really got to put the hat on of, okay, I need to become a business operator. And that's not an easy thing to acknowledge. It's not an easy thing to adapt to when you're used to, being out on the job and being, doing as carpenters. You never really taught how to do a lot of these important business things, but they are essential. And if you guys are serious about running a business at some stage, whether you do it through the school of hard knocks or you learn from people that have been there and done it, you're going to have to learn these things. So we're going to jump into a vast area of these topics today, and we don't have a huge amount of time. So we're kind of going to skim through these. And I'd probably say as well, if there's information there, guys, that you would like us to further expand on, by all means, let Brett know, because we certainly can come back on and we can dive down a little bit deeper into certain specific areas if that's something that you guys are after. And I know for Dan and Dani, this is probably the most social interaction you guys have had in the last couple of months. So this is probably a bit of a relief for you guys down in Melbourne.
Yeah,
we love it.
We live for Zoom. Or Teams, whatever we're on now, Teams.
Yeah.
Great. And so, Dan and Dani, you guys obviously, you run Red Door Project, which is a sort of a boutique building company down in Melbourne. And I imagine, there's lots of listeners and viewers on this podcast, or whatever you call it, video webinar thing tonight, that are sort of maybe perhaps considering doing something similar wherever they're located. And so you guys have certainly, you talk the talk and you walk the walk, unlike me, who just talks the talk. So although I have been there and I have walked the walk at one point, but today we're gonna dive into some areas and things that we've learned throughout our career, coming from trades and running trade businesses, to some of the lessons that we've learned over the years in different areas of what we've basically had to develop in order to run a successful business. And it's kind of it's small business guys as well, like, sure, we're trading, sure, we're plumbers, sure, we're builders, sure, we're carpenters or whatever, but at the end of the day, a small business is small business. The principles are relatively similar, you'll find. Some of the variables might be a little bit different, some of the semantics around that, but in principle, some of the fundamental things of running a small business is relatively true throughout verticals and different industries. And so I just really encourage you guys to take it upon yourselves to if you're serious about getting into business, like, beyond this, beyond resources like this, there's so many amazing things that you guys can get your hands on. Incredible books, podcasts, audio books, coaches, and we're going to dive into some of these things a little bit later. But I mean, Dan and Dani, maybe it's a good time, I suppose, for you guys just to talk a little bit about, I suppose, your journey and how you've, gone from being a carpenter to television stars and now to business coaches.
I think I'll dive right back to where these guys are now. When you go through your Cert 4, you're generally working for someone. You're doing your night school. You're getting all that done. Then you move on and then you start getting your license. It took me about another 6 months to get my license, but I was still working for someone. So I never really understood still what it was to run a business. Although I did have my Cert 4 and eventually still got my license, I still hadn't ran a business yet. So I was still very, very raw, to be honest. And that's probably the daunting thing, taking that leap of faith to take on your first client, to do your first quote, to sign your first contract with a client. It is very daunting. And I wish I got shown that or mentored that a little bit better, because I can tell you right now, my first job I ever did, the product was amazing, the clients were amazing, and they were so happy, but I still had no idea what I made off that job. And that's the scariest thing to know right now. Even when I look back, I didn't know what I made off that job. Yeah. You cannot survive running a business doing that this world.
Well, we got to the end of that project and the client said to us that the next closest builder was like $150,000 more than us. And we're like,
oh no.
And that was a massive learning right from the very start of going into our first job.
Yeah, we were so green, and we did the hard knock kind of approach that Matt was alluding to. We didn't have the business experience. I was a business analyst. I worked for the NAB at the time, so I had a really broad understanding of kind of, the budgeting throughout, the organisation, the project management side of the admin elements, the bookkeeping, all of that kind of stuff. But, together, even though we had these individual skills, we were still useless because we really didn't understand the business fundamentals behind it. So you can be the best carpenter or best builder in the world, but if you actually don't know how to run the business, it doesn't mean anything.
So, taking that leap of faith, we got through our first job. I'm guessing we made some kind of money. It might have been a lot.
I don't reckon.
But then we started getting into the groove. We did 2, 3, 4, and that's when we started noticing I think we were making some money, but we knew we had to do something better to understand where our business was and our position.
Yeah. We definitely exhausted our own skill set. We'd exhausted, I guess, the skills and knowledge of those immediately around us. And it was very clear at that point that we needed guidance or assistance to help elevate to get to the next level of where we needed to be, to make sure we were forecasting correctly, job tracking correctly, managing finances correctly, all of everything that basically goes into running a business, and a successful one, hopefully.
And I guess on the back of that, I think there's a stat. If you survive what's the stat for 5 years of running business? 75% of people go under. Is that correct?
I don't know. The rate of success for builders alone in Victoria is really, really low. There's a lot of builders continuing to go under, and we still maintain that they're the builders who haven't actually worked out how to properly run the business. They take unnecessary risks. They outlay too much money, from their own financial situation, and they just don't have the fundamentals in place. They don't have the support network. To make one wrong move and it could end everything, basically.
That's the biggest thing I try and get out there now to the world, especially here in Victoria, for builders coming through, because I'm passionate about our industry and I want guys like you who are doing your Cert 4 to be successful. But it's all about those first few jobs, to making sure you understand how to run a business so you don't fall into that trap of underquoting and essentially going under within that first year.
Doing your ass. We were kind of spitballing, the progression of getting from the tradie to the business owner. When you work for someone, you've got that one role. You are the tradie, and that's kind of the end of your responsibility. When you do become self-employed, you've got 3 hats to wear. You're basically hustling to get the work, you're doing the work, and then you're also having to make sure that you get paid. Whereas when you make that conscious decision to become a business owner, you're basically telling yourself, or you basically have to stop being the tradie first and foremost and really put your business hat on and understand the principles and fundamentals that you need to execute every single day that you have that business to make sure that you stay in business.
And I'll be honest, that was the hardest part for me. Was I've been a tradie all my life. To get off the tools and try and run a business, that I found that very hard. Just even today, I find it very hard to be in an office all day. I like to be out on site. I like to be with the guys, helping them, getting on the tools. But
Dan's been on site all week.
Yeah. I prefer to be out on the. I like to be the face, liaising with the client, with the guys on site. I really struggle in the office.
He likes to have a chat.
Yeah. And so to become a builder, there is going to be that transition where you will have to spend a lot of time in the office, and I guess be prepared for that.
I think though, and we're going to get to this a little bit as this evening progresses, when we start talking a little bit more about building team, organizational structure, business systemization, things like that. You guys, you really can put yourself in a position of power where, like Dan was saying, his strength, he felt, didn't lie or doesn't lie within the office managerial side of things. And that's 100% fine. So you see all this clickbait bullshit out there about getting off the tools and doing all that kind of stuff. And guys, to be honest, if your strength is being on the tools, then that's fantastic. Like, take that, embrace it, and build process around bringing in people that are better at the managerial side of things than you are. Now, that doesn't mean you don't have to have a basic understanding of how those things work. And that's what this is kind of about. You do need to be across it as the business owner, but it doesn't mean, and it's completely unrealistic to presume for a second, that you're going to be able to be the person that does everything. So that's a really important acknowledgement that I wish I had made earlier in the piece. You know, you don't have to be the expert at everything, but you've kind of got to have an understanding of what those different areas are so you can bring people in to replace you doing it.
And there's real power in really understanding. I mean, obviously we're in business together, and that might not be the scenario for a lot of you out there. You might be planning on being in business with just yourself, but there's real power in admitting when something is not your strong point and realizing that you need help to move through and get to the next level. You know, we made a decision about 12 to 18 months ago that I was going to run our business essentially as a general manager and creative director, and Dan's role within our business is as the builder, obviously first and foremost, but also as a construction manager. So, looking after our sites basically, and I just make sure that we can still stay afloat. So, you can't do everything, and you can't be expected to do everything either, because, you're shooting yourself in the foot basically.
On the back of that was me letting go of my ego and understanding, right, I'm not good at running the business. I'll hand that over to Dani. And like we just said before, Maddie, my strengths, talking to the clients, being the construction manager on site and leading the guys. And that's where we really seen benefits within the business. So finding our both strengths in each other, and then now the business is a lot stronger.
And I guess to advance on that too, we've made further identifications within our key strengths within the business that I'm really good at new business. I'm really good at, having amazing relationships with new prospective clients and nailing them down. And then it kind of becomes a bit of a handover process as the build starts. Or if it's, we also do design. If it's the design side of our business, I'm more heavily involved throughout, but then I also do a handover to our design team. So you just have to identify what you're good at and really hammer that home.
I think as well, guys, and what you'll find, and what was certainly my experience, and I'm sure you guys, Dan and Dani, well, I know for certain you guys because of where you are now within the media, but once you start, you can't steer a parked car. And once you start getting involved with business, you'll start seeing things that you actually do enjoy doing. And some of the things you might be sitting there right now thinking, there's no way that I'm ever going to be the finance person in my business. I hate it. It bores the shit out of me. But what you might find is that once you start understanding how finance works in your business, it actually does become kind of interesting, kind of fun, and it becomes a bit of a game. And I hated finances, and I must admit, I was the guy, and I've said it through the podcast numerous times, I was the guy that would bury my head in the sand and not want to know about numbers. I just never looked at it. And it was completely to my detriment when I started out within my business. I had no idea. I had things like ATO tax debts, which apparently, believe it or not, guys, 90% of tradies have an ATO debt, 90%. And this is purely cash flow management. So, but once you get on top of these things and you understand how to allocate funds and you understand what's involved in basically managing your money, and when you get good at it, it becomes fun, and you can actually see profit, and you can start buying things that you want. And I encourage you guys not to go out and buy the newest Toyota Hilux Ute because it's new and you. The biggest mistake I think that journeyman tradespeople do is they just spend money unnecessarily.
Yeah. It's very easy to fall into that kind of trap, and especially as a builder, there'll be large chunks of money coming in at various times, and you always feel like you have more money than what you actually do. So the biggest game changer for us would definitely have to have been implementing the team around us that we have. So the people who immediately work for us are one thing, and they're all brilliant, but we've got an amazing accountant and financial advisory team that really hold our hand and look after that process. At the time, it felt like it was the biggest investment we were ever going to make, but the return on that investment has been tenfold. So things that you feel like might be a really big cost risk at the time can actually turn out to be the biggest asset that you make. And one of the things that we've actually found with being involved as brand experts or personal brand experts with Tradiematepro, and just Tradiematepro in general, is the community. And as we were starting out in business, there's always this saying that there's this tall poppy idea, when you are the leader of a business, it's very lonely and you don't really have anyone to talk to or, talk about your struggles or where to go from here or what should I do now. And that's the one biggest element that we've found has been so great, is the support that Tradiematepro offers and the community that we get to be a part of as well. So having a community and the right people that are around you are, two of the biggest things that I think are of importance.
And also, guys, just to give you guys a bit of a heads up as well, towards the end of this call, obviously at Tradiematepro, we've got some amazing business partners, and some of those include some absolute magnates in the technology world, and they've put together some great offers for you guys, which we're going to run through at the end of this webinar. So stick around for them, because there's some really useful tools that you can get your hands on for a lot less than what you'd be paying market price for. Sorry.
I mean, even as a subcontractor, you should be knowing at the end of not every day or every week exactly what your profit margin is on every job. You should be job tracking everything. It's, as a builder, it sounds daunting because you've got so many moving parts for that to happen. But once you nail that, if you're on target to meet your profit percent or if you're under. And if you are under, how are you going to make that percentage back up? So having those tools makes a huge difference in you succeeding in business.
Yeah, and that's really important, guys. And I think fundamentally one of the most important business tools you'll ever own is like a bookkeeping software. And so that was a big shift for me. And like you guys, I was like, I don't want to invest that much money a month. I think back then it was like $50 a month or something, not really knowing at the time that it was going to save me potentially $3,000-4,000 in accounting fees per year.
Yeah.
And so there are tools out there, guys, that can really, really help you. First of all, build a solid foundation in various areas, finance, project management, whatever it might be. But then second of all, give you really good clarity, analytics, data back over things like Dan just mentioned, which is, how your project's tracking and, perhaps areas of your project that aren't tracking as well. So I really do encourage you guys to do your research there and embrace the technology that's available, because it is there. It can make a formidable impact on the way that you operate and the way that you keep track of things. And like Dan was saying as well, like the ability to be agile is so important when you're running a trade business, especially for builders, because, if you're not tracking these things regularly and you don't have software that, you can deliver that sort of information to you, before you know it, the quarter's gone and now you're trying to play catch up on something that you have no control over anymore because it's too far gone.
Yeah.
So it's really important to stay on top of those things, guys, when you're out there, operating. And this is not relevant to trades either. This is relevant to business, like this is and much of the things that we're going to be talking about, guys, really are skills that will translate into multiple, into all industries. As I said before, small business essentially is small business. Some of the parameters might be a little bit different, but it's kind of the same thing.
I also remember, Matty, back when I was doing my cert for my teachers always said cash flow is king, cash flow is king. And I was like, yeah, obviously, but what does that actually mean, cash flow? It's more than money coming in, money coming out. You've got to forecast as a builder months in advance on projects, because you might have a bill of 100 grand worth of windows or joinery that you've got to have in the bank ready for that. So it's getting everything in line for that date to make sure you've got that amount of cash in there ready to go.
Yeah.
So what do you have to invoice before then to make sure that money's there ready? And I can't stress how important that is, because that's where so many builders get stuck.
Yeah.
And they don't finish their jobs and they go under. And then it's a nightmare for the builder, the client, everyone involved. So,
and I think, adding to that, technology in general, when you do go into business and you are, we're 5 years thereabouts now in business together. So we're at a fairly solid point. And, we had an annual review with our accountant 2 days ago. And one of the biggest investments that we make, aside from our accounting fees and aside from obviously our cost of goods, which is the general materials and stuff that we do and pay our subcontractors and stuff, subscriptions to technology is probably the biggest investment that we make within our business.
I nearly threw up when I seen how much it was costing us. But it's so important.
But the point of that is being able to process, streamline, and just make our whole operation significantly more efficient, basically. Technology can be your best friend, and there's so many programs out there, and it is a case of, determining what's right for you. But, once you've got that down, it's definitely your best friend.
And to everyone out there, especially doing their Cert 4, I can't stress enough to have the right technology behind you before you go into your first jobs, just so you can job track properly and make sure your cash flow is on point.
Yeah.
That's what will get you unstuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as much as Dan sort of said tongue in cheek, he nearly threw up when he saw how much the technology side was costing him each year. I reckon you'd throw up even further if you didn't have it and you realise how much it was costing you not to have it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we can give you a real-time example. But before we were using one of the programs that we use, which is something we use to estimate, run the job, get the job, so schedule the job, check, stay on budget, all of those things. We had a project that we missed something in estimating. It cost us out of pocket item $40,000. That changes the percentage on a job significantly. The job was about an $800,000 job or something, and a series of things like that happened to the point where we ended up pretty much making nothing on the job.
We made 5% profit if that.
I think we were lower than that.
You can't run businesses doing that.
And then the next job we had, we'd migrated into this program, and we knew straight away there's no way in hell that would have happened if we were in that program at the time, because we would have picked it up. So basically throwing away where we were at the time, 2 years rent on one mistake, when we could have spent, what we pay now is about $250 a month for that particular program. It's a no-brainer from where.
And the job, I think the job after we overachieved with this technology, which is great.
Yeah. In saying that, the job where we lost all the money was probably still the best detailed job we've ever delivered.
Still one of our favourites.
Yeah. Blew the bush off the bar.
I mean, as I said, guys, before, we could go on for hours talking about any one of these topics, and as it happens, we've gone through half of our time allocation on one of 7. So we'll might try and skip through. But anyway, guys, the point is there's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of great resources and tools that can help you with financials, and I just encourage you to get out there and check it. Go and read a book called Profit First. That is an absolute game changer. I really encourage you guys to get out there and read that. It will really help you allocate funds within your business. It's Profit First. It's brilliant. I'd post a link to it, but I can't post anything in this for some reason.
I'll do it for you, Matt. I'll find it for you.
Okay. So that sort of leads us on to the next thing, which is like your marketing, your branding, your advertising. Dan and Dani are huge on this, and to their credit, they've really built a wonderful brand. And again, this is something that may be a little bit foreign to you guys as a builder, but when it comes to, like what your mission is, what your message is, the type of customer that you want to attract and that you want to work with, like all of these things tie into brand. And, it's really important when you're starting a business that you stay true to your brand, that you build a brand that represents the direction that you want to head, and the caliber of business that you are. And we see a lot. Obviously, I'm in the marketing space heavily, and we see a lot of really, really amazing business operators out there, and that have really, really, really shitty branding, and and their messaging is really poor. And so I really encourage you guys to in that space really take the time to step back and and look at who it is you want to work for, where what sort of jobs you want to be doing, really target down on that customer avatar sort of thing. Understand what your messaging is, because your messaging will dictate fundamentally everything you do within your marketing. The language you use on your website, the type of logo that you design, the wrap that you put on your car, your social media presence, like all this kind of stuff. And Dan and Dani, I know you guys certainly at Red Door Project, you put a lot of work into this, so maybe you can probably shed a bit more light on this from the perspective of a builder.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I'm the creative between us, and so that's why I'm so passionate about it. But when it does come to personal brand, it really is about literally walking the walk, basically. And it comes down to even the people that you work with and have on your site. We had a staff member a few years ago. We thought he was going to be phenomenal. We basically, when we decided to hire him, we went through this whole process of working out if he'd be great with clients, if he'd be good with suppliers, if he'd be this, if he'd be that. It turned out he was basically none of those things. So we drastically misinterpreted who he was. We had a personal relationship with him. And there were also elements about, and it's going to sound really bad, but there were elements about his personal brand that completely conflicted,
wasn't in line with us,
what we were selling and what our values were and what our mission was within our business. And as soon as we identified that, it was plain as day to see why and how it wasn't working for our business, and we had to make the call to let him go.
And that's the face of your business. They're your troops on site. Yep. They're the day-to-day talking to clients. They've got to be in line with your brand, otherwise it's not authentic.
Exactly.
It's not going to work.
And authenticity is one of our biggest values within our business, authenticity and honesty. We expect people to be completely transparent. We're very transparent with everybody. There's no blanketing anything, basically. And we are wholly authentic with what we want, who we work with, what we believe in, the types of jobs that we want to undertake. So it can be really challenging to understand what your actual values are and the why, I guess, you want to do it is that you want to do. And it took us a couple of years to really understand that.
And it's hard as a new builder or a new person coming into business to get that straight away and to probably say no to some of the work that you probably should say no to. That's probably the hardest thing. Yeah. But the empowerment you get out of saying, no, I'm not going to take on this client, it's incredible.
And I think you really do learn, in your first couple of jobs, you learn to see the red flags, basically, really, really early on. They're consistent themes throughout the relationship with the client or the way the build might unfold or whatever it might be. You'll learn to read those and you'll be able to implement that ongoing and make decisions around, if you're talking to someone about a job and a client once said to us, I like to do all the fighting up front. We're like, what do you mean
there's
fighting?
No fighting with
we don't want to fight with you. What are you talking about? We have the same goal. Like, we want.
Yeah.
So
there's actually a big shift now in Melbourne where the builders are interviewing the clients now, and we decide whether we want to take them on. Whereas it used to be always a client interviewing the builder.
Yeah.
Because you've got to protect yourself. If you're going to go into a relationship with a client who's going to be a nightmare for you, it's going to be the worst thing for your mental health, for your business, for everything.
Yeah. And you have to be at a point where your biggest advocate is going to be your client. You know, we can now refer any prospective new client to any of our past clients and they will sing our praises. And it's taken us a number of years to get to that position. You know, we had breakdowns with clients on multiple projects, but, you know, those bridges have been repaired and we're in such a great spot to be able to, you know, win referral work and have someone talk about us in such a positive light.
And that, in a sense, is your biggest branding or your biggest marketing tool, is your previous clients. Because we get a prospective client, we go, yep, here's 10 guys that we've built for, go ring them and talk to them.
Yeah.
And then those clients, our past clients, will ring us up. Oh, we had a great chat with so-and-so. You know, I hope you get that job. They sound amazing.
Yeah.
We almost become friends with our past clients.
We are. We still do remain friends.
And that comes back to choosing the right person for if that's going to be the right relationship.
Dan told me that I spent too much money last year on client gifts for Christmas. I have such amazing relationships with all of our clients, and for the sake of maybe $1,000 for 10 clients, I'll happily spend that $1,000 if it's going to win me another $2 million in work.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, maybe you should let Dan take over this year and see how many happy clients are running around with Macca's vouchers.
Yeah, we'll get bottles of Nanty.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a testament as well to, you know, as I was saying, you know, your branding will dictate so many things. And like you just dove into there, like you started talking straight away about HR. You know, you were talking about somebody that you hired poorly because you didn't have a good process around recruitment and, you know, and hiring, and you sort of hired them because they were a friend. And, you know, there's that is a very common thing. And you'll also find guys as well, when you do start running a business as the young business owner, you'll have people that'll come to work with you that'll have experience, and you'll think this is great. They're so experienced, and they may not fit in any way, shape or form into, you know, your business ethos. And that's really common. And sometimes, you know, that person which you think could be your you know, your star, they could end up being, you know, the rotting apple in the group.
Yeah.
And I mean, it happens over and over again with our clients. They have the most experienced person, and because they're so experienced, they're very reluctant to change the way they operate and the way they carry out their job based on what you want, because they've been doing it so much longer and they know so much more.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it really does tie into sort of a conversation which becomes around still tying to branding in a way, but then also around, you know, process and around, you know, systems and around, you know, operating procedures and things like that. And like this is another really important, you know, part of business, potentially the most important part of business, because as we stated earlier in the call, earlier in the webinar, when, you know, if you at some point you want to remove yourself from bookkeeping, or you want to remove yourself from sales, or you want to remove yourself from, you know, whatever that might be, marketing, you need to have people that come into your organization that are going to be able to do that role the way you want it done. And that's a really important point, because, you know, if you guys are letting people come in and doing whatever they want, whatever way they want to do it, you really don't have any control, and you're delivering a product that is not consistent. And it's really, and it's, you'll inevitably come across this at some point in your business. I can almost guarantee it, regardless of how much I'm going through it now myself, and we're mad for this sort of stuff. But you've really got to get granular on process creation, and, you know, you've really got to lay out and manage expectations for team members so they understand what they're doing and how they're supposed to be doing it. Yeah. And you're all probably sitting there thinking, like, this would take so much time, and it does take time. Yeah. It does take time. But there's that old saying, you know, what if I train them and they leave? And then, you know, on the flip side of that, what if you don't train them and they stay? Yeah. So, you know, you've really got to be proactive in that space and, you know, educate people as to, you know, how you expect things to be delivered. And it's a constant work in progress. And like I was saying before, you know, taking off one hat and putting on the other, like, it is a constant work in progress. It's by no means a destination. You're always on a journey with these sort of things. There's always a better way you can do something.
Yeah, there totally is. And one of the big things we talk about a lot is buy-in from our staff. We've got 7 people who work for us now. And one of the things that we've realised the importance of over the last 6 to 8 months is our culture within our business. And it's actually become one of the most important things. We put that ahead of a lot of other elements. If our people are waking up or going to bed on a Sunday night and dreading waking up on a Monday morning to come and work for us, I don't want to be in this business, you know. And we try to put ourselves back. I remember jobs from years past where that was me, and I don't want to be responsible for having a workplace like that. So culture within our team, and as I said before, that authenticity and transparency is so key, and it does definitely come down to process. And, you know, as Matt said, it has been for us years to get that kind of streamlined, and we're still not there. We're still working on processes every day and, you know, making things more efficient and better, and presenting the best workplace that we can for our people to come to work to. So, you know, when it is around hiring, and if it does in fact end up you're hiring a friend, boundaries and, you know, clear understanding and clear roles and responsibilities are going to be your best friend.
And I think all the tradies out there who, you know yourselves, you'll do extra work for someone that you really get along with.
Yeah.
And that's culture. And I remember as a tradie, we had amazing culture. We used to run to get materials to try and beat each other. It was just silly things like that, but that's making money for the boss. Yeah. At the end of the day.
Because we bitch and moan that it could take, you know, it might cost us $120 for one carpenter to go to Bunnings to get a pack of screws. Like, that's the reality of it. And they're the things that you have to know. And they're the things that we constantly try to streamline within our business operations.
So definitely try and get your culture in the right direction from the start. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to build over time. And however you do that, we wish we could go to the pub or have dinners. Unfortunately, we can't. We're in lockdown. So we've had to improvise. We're doing Zoom calls twice a week with the team, and we have a structured call, but we also have a bit of chit chat. So everyone's staying together and interacting.
And I want to just talk about that a little bit, because that was something that was originally my idea that was met with a lot of resistance from Dan, a typical tradie basically. But I found it as a leader within our business that it was going to be really important to build morale and culture within our team, you know. And it's going to sound so crazy to a lot of you probably, but, you know, we start that huddle, I call it, with a one-word opener of how we're feeling at that time. We discuss transparently wins and losses within our business. We talk openly about money within our business and what our revenues and our GPs and stuff look like, because, you know, what's the point of hiding that? We want everybody to be working really hard so that we can all still stay in business at the end of the year. We talk about actually this week we had a key fact. So our apprentice had to present a fact basically at the end of the meeting. And we wrapped up the meeting with gratitudes, because we're in this lockdown situation. We can't do anything. So we need to constantly be reminded of the things that we're actually grateful for. It could have literally been that the sky was blue on your way to work, things like that. But we found that really gets people connected within our business, connected with both sides of our business. And we're constantly seeing each other face to face, you know, for that 15 minutes or 20 minutes once or twice a week.
And the guys are energized on site, and they do, you know, they're not lazy. They're working hard.
Yeah, so I think, like, I mean, I'm not sure how we're going for time, Brett.
Guys, you can keep going as long as you want, but when you normally go till 8 o'clock, so you can go as long as you want. I think they're taking a lot out of it, so go for it.
No worries. Well, yeah, I mean, guys, we'll do some Q&A in the next 15 minutes or so. But there's obviously there's a lot of things to try and get through, but I mean, and Danny just touched then on a really important part of business, which is leadership. And like it or not, guys, if you're going to start operating a business that is greater than just yourself, you're going to have to start leading people. And this is this is not something that comes natural to a lot of people, but the good news is it's a skill and you can learn it and you can improve it. And so it's a very, very important very important part of having team members that are buying into, like Dan said, part of that team culture. Like, culture is driven by leadership, and, you know, people are watching what you do, you know, within your organization, and everything duplicates, for better or worse. So if you're doing stuff that isn't right, you can guarantee that's going to have a ripple effect. If you're doing stuff that is right, then you can also guarantee that's going to have a ripple effect. And you'll find, those leadership qualities, they'll really relay into areas of your business like recruitment, and when you're doing it, and when you've got a solid onboarding process, you know, all those kind of things, people really buy into that, and it's attractive, even when you're, and certainly anyone that tells you that recruitment is not a marketing exercise is kidding themselves, because recruitment is very much a marketing exercise. And if you can market that position correctly, you will have the right people applying for that position, and you'll have yourself an amazing pool of candidates to pick from. However, you know, again, you've got to be leading that process, and you've got to be attracting the right people into your business. And, you know, we're kind of lucky right now, for the first time in a long time that I can remember, and it's true for, you know, business owners that I speak to from all over the world all the time. You know, now more than ever, there's talent available. Like, people have been let go because of COVID. They've, you know, and for the last 10, 15 years, there's just been this constant battle about, I can't find the right team, I can't find staff, I can't get people to do the work, so on and so forth. Now, all of a sudden, there's talent available. So having a solid recruitment process and being really like marketing that position well is what's going to be the difference between you getting that golden employee and your competitors getting it. So don't take that sort of thing for granted. You know, there's plenty of opportunity that comes with, you know, alongside with crisis, like we're kind of in the wake of now, but still kind of in. What's your experience been with that?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally just gone through a recruitment process. We had a staff member do the wrong thing by us time and time again. And so we made the difficult decision to let them go. But that obviously opened up the need to hire someone, and really quite quickly. And there wasn't going to be a handover period, which is even more stressful. And on this particular occasion, I outsourced the management of that process. So I created the job ad, and basically, if you've ever written a job ad before, the very first time I had to do it, I was bloody terrified. I had no idea what to write. And then I just reminded myself of our values, and I needed to be authentic. I needed to be using our tone of voice. We're quite, I have quite dry humor, and I'm responsible for the copy on our website. So, so it was important that we were basically consistent from the outset. So the job ad incorporated that dry humor into it. We were very open with the kind of person that we wanted. We don't want dickheads applying for our role, basically. And we're very clear with that. We're very clear in our offer. We're very clear in our expectation of people. But with this particular role, I received about 110 candidates. There was no way in hell, one, I didn't have the time to go through each particular person and you know, go through that process. And that's where I clearly identified, and I said to Dan, we need to make an investment in a HR specialist to help us through this process. And we did. So it was a process of shortlisting these candidates and, you know, going through the motions, and it was the best money. I think it cost us $1,000 all up to go through the process. But this company basically shortlisted, they made all the calls at the very start, from like condensing it down from 20 to 3 people. We then had Zoom interviews because we can't meet face to face. They did full reference checks on them, presented me with pages of amazing material. We also did, and something that's very important for our business is understanding people's behaviors and their profile around their personality. Because as a leader, which we've kind of briefly touched on, we need to be able to understand how people are going to work in different situations. So how they are, you know, outside of work might be vastly different to how they are undertaking normal tasks, and then undertaking those same tasks under pressure. Their whole personality and the way that they cope might change. So, and the way that we need to communicate with those people is going to be different, because everyone is different. So we had to make sure we were going to hire someone that didn't conflict with Dan's personality or my personality, or bring something that's very similar to me, because we don't need another me. I need someone else different to cover a whole different set of skills. So that was really important during that exercise, and we've got the right person for the job now. She's starting next week, actually, and I feel really confident that going through that whole process is going to pay off in spades.
And I like to think that all the traders out there now are making a list of all the jobs they work on, and the people that they're working with different trades, taking notes on whether they would fit their business mold. because we work on so many different sites, you meet so many different people, and that's anywhere from sparkies, plumbers, tilers, plasterers. If they think they're going to fit your mold or your business, take their details down, because you might need them later on when you start growing. Yeah. And now's the perfect time to be getting that playbook ready.
And you'll find that as you work out your place in this world of builders, if that's what you go on to do, you will gravitate to the people that have the same values, goals, beliefs, passions as you. And it's really important that you can identify that, because, you know, we've finally got ourselves, after 5 years, a really solid crew that we work with. And we do rotate between some people on different jobs depending on the job. But we know that those people equally share everything that we do. And that's when you work in sync. That's when you're on the same path. And you have the same goal in mind. You're just as passionate about all the little things as each other. And that's one of the most important elements of having that team.
It's even come down to sometimes the sub-trade will talk to the other sub-trade. They don't even come through me anymore. So it's saving me time. They're solving a problem I don't even know about. And that's about having everyone in sync and getting that right team under you.
Yeah.
So there's a book that I read, I reckon 15, 20 odd years ago, which changed my life in line with what you guys said. And it's called Personality Plus by a woman called Florence Littauer. And guys, I really encourage you to learn that, because the sooner that you can, like Dan and Dani just said then, the sooner you understand personality traits and how to communicate with different people on different levels, the sooner your business will explode. Yes. And that was an absolute turning point for me. One book, took a personality test, and I did a podcast on this. I think I called it the reason why I piss so many people off, because after I read that book, I realized where my strengths were, but more importantly, where my weaknesses were. And then I realized how I could tone that to communicate with people that were not of the same personality type. And that might sound all like rainbows and unicorns to you guys, because you're sitting there going, I'm a builder, mate. What are you talking about? But trust me, it will serve you so well if you can learn these skills and apply them to your business.
Yeah, we used to overthink scenarios where we'd have a conversation with a client, and then, you know, we'd be thinking about that conversation for days, like, oh, did they mean this? Or did they mean that? No. They literally just meant exactly what they said.
You're creating a story in your head. That's not true.
That's not true. And I mean, my personality type, I'm dominant.
Really?
I'm very short and sharp and to the point. And if I ask you a question or ask you to do something, it might not be in a certain way that you might initially think is good. It might be quite standoffish to you. But that's black and white what it means. There's nothing behind it. Whereas Dan is an influencer in his personality. So he is very good at selling the situation and guiding someone and influencing someone into, you know, what they think that they want or need. So how we communicate to each other is completely different to how I would communicate to another person that's a high dominant character.
So you've got a big mouth and Dan's a Charlotte. Is that what you're saying?
It's really important to understand those techniques. You know, we had a client who would constantly research every single thing down to the line, down to the last dot, and then he'd rock up on site and he'd be looking and kind of, you know, over the shoulder of what we're doing. And it took us a minute to understand that he's actually a compliance guy. So he doesn't understand it the same way that we do, but there's nothing to it except for the fact that he needs to fully understand the process before he can be comfortable in what the outcome will be.
He read the safety data sheet on every material that got sent to site. I've never seen anyone that pedantic.
We struggled with it at the time because we didn't know about any of this. And then site, you know, is the magical thing. Yeah. That's just who he is, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And by all means, guys, I mean, we probably should have started with this. Like, there's no rush to go start your own business, by the way. Like, I mean, so many of these things you can learn, you know, along the way, especially in the space of, like Dani was saying, like understanding, you know, what your brand position is and, you know, what your ideal avatar is. Like, those things don't come, you know, immediately to you. They're things that you learn over time. And I certainly, as much as I encourage, you know, starting a business, I also say, you know, don't rush into it, because it's not, although a lot of people wear it as a badge of honor, as an ego thing, you know, it's not always, it's not right to treat it like that, you know. Like, you're better off getting the fundamentals down and then going into it with a better understanding of how things operate across the things that we've spoken about, plus a million other things. You're almost better learning these things at someone else's expense to a degree than getting in there and doing it yourself.
And this is your life.
Yeah.
And this is the life of the people who you may employ one day. And it's the home and, of your client and the people that live in that home, their daughters and sons and whatnot. You have a huge responsibility to get this right for all of those people and yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, totally. And you touched on one thing as well that I just wanted to jump back into just quickly, in like when we're back in that like sort of attracting the right person, into the business. And again, this does tie heavily into, I suppose, the brand, your recruitment process and all this kind of thing. But guys, you'll constantly hear, or if you maybe not yet, but once you start getting into business and you start associating with, friends and colleagues, you'll hear about churn, oh God, we just have these clients that our staff members that, we train them and they jump ship and they go and work for our competitors and all this kind of stuff. And typically, like, you'll find that normally comes as a result of poor leadership, poor culture, and poor, I suppose, career direction that you as the business owner have not delivered to them. And you can almost guarantee that 95% of the problems you're going to have in your business are going to be your fault. And being willing to accept that and understand that, you are in charge and, you're the one that has to really, take ownership of these things. And, when we're talking about that situation, where your competitors, might be offering an extra $5 and so an hour, so your staff member jumps ship. Like, if you're in a situation where you're giving people a career path instead of a job, like, that is a formidable difference. Yeah. And you will be amazed at how, if you can show them, you're coming in here as a supervisor, but in a year's time, I want you to be a manager. And I'm sure I appreciate, guys, that this is like talking, a lot of years down the track for you, because you probably haven't even started a business yet. But these are the things that you will be needing to consider at some point. So it's really important that you understand that, how do we differentiate us from our competition, and how do we attract the right people and keep the right people? Because retention is an issue. Retention is a skill, and you can certainly put things in place that make people want to stay there, because they know your competitors who are offering an extra $5 an hour aren't delivering on those things. And it's amazing how much money doesn't play a part in the overall scheme of an employee's job satisfaction. You'll be amazed.
Yeah, and that's something that we've actually definitely experienced. One of the people that we were looking at hiring, she had a really big focus on, what kind of training do you offer and what kind of things, where do you see me going? And I had to just sit back for a second and go, yeah, you know what? I'm going to be really candid, really transparent with where I see this role going for you and what I can offer you. And she was really appreciative of that. Whereas the other person who I was considering for the role, she was very different in that regard. She just wanted to come to work, do her job, and was really happy just doing that. And one of the things that I, in particular, really try to live by, I don't look at what my competitors are doing. I see what they're doing on face value, but I don't put a lot into that. And I think for me, that was actually something that came off the back of the block. I was shown really poorly, and I took everything that everybody was saying about me to heart. And I literally bought into that stuff and forgetting that actually I know who I am. Dan knows who I am. All of the people around us know who we are. Why do I even care about what they think? So that's been something that I've just adopted as I've grown personally, but also then implemented into our business. It's very easy to be distracted by what the next builder is doing. And if you constantly let yourself be distracted by what your competitors are doing, you won't progress. You'll spend all your time worrying why you're not appearing as good as they are, instead of actually investing in the things that you need to be doing. That's
again your ego trying to take over. I remember starting business at the same time as some other guys in my Cert 4, and they were getting higher value jobs, and I was getting so annoyed and so angry. But the minute I let go, that work started coming in for us. So just concentrate on what you're doing is probably the main point.
Energy is a big thing, and this might again seem so whatever off with the fairies, but where you direct your energy is where it will go. If you're constantly worrying about others, that's all you can manage, basically. If you focus your energy into what you're doing and know where you need to be or where you want to be, that's all that matters. That is exactly all that will come. Manifest it.
It probably sounds daunting we've been talking about, Maddie, to all these guys. They might not want to go into business, but
I'm shitting myself. I'm terrified.
But it's all not doom and gloom. It is an exciting ride, and for me, if only at the start, or for us, if we had the right tools and the community around us from the very start, we would be years ahead of where we are now. We've had to learn the hard way on our own and made some big costly mistakes, and we're lucky enough that we could ride it out. And I just hope people, all you guys out there, don't make the mistakes we made. So get the right team, get the right community around you, have the right tools, and you will all be very successful in business.
In saying that, though, don't be afraid to make those mistakes. As long as you can identify that they're mistakes, and as long as you know what the learnings are that come out of them, and you won't make those mistakes again. Because, I do know that we would be probably 2 to maybe 4 years ahead of where we are in terms of our growth and our financial position. But, we had to make those mistakes to understand that and get to where we are now. And we've survived the first 5 years in business, which is pretty friggin' amazing. Yeah. So, we know that it's only onwards and upwards from here for us.
I think as well, understanding what a growth metric looks like, like people get caught up on like the constant growth of, your turnovers and things that don't mean anything at the end of the day. Like it's not about, I think it was Travis that said, it's not about turnover, it's what's left over, like I think for a business that's starting out, like, sure, it's important to get money through the door and, so you can operate, but it's probably one of the least valuable metrics on a business success in the early stages. You obviously need enough to survive, but, there's far more things that you should be focusing attention on in order to build a solid foundation, which is that extends far beyond, things like how much financial growth you're having year after year. So and as Dan said, these get the right people in your corner. I mean, he touched on it before, and I do exactly the same thing. If I'm hiring somebody on shore, I have my HR lady who writes that contract for me, and it costs me $400 or something, but it saves me potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars if I ever want to punt these people. Like, you've got to be really careful with staff guys. Like hiring people is a commitment that goes a lot more than a handshake and a beer. There's a lot of legal boundaries that come with that sort of thing.
That I didn't really understand when we went into business is I didn't really understand margins across various different industries, and it's not until I have become part of an entrepreneurs group that I understand the building industry has some of the lowest margins ever. Profit margins, and
with the highest risk of any other industry.
And that's really challenging. And we had with this meeting that we had the other day with our accountant, we had a fight about what our GP was going to be. I'm like, no, we have to achieve this. And Dan said, no, it was like 3% less. No, we'll probably get that. I'm like, no, we have to get this, because otherwise, what is the point? Like, what is the point of all this? It doesn't matter if you're turning over $3, $4, $5 million plus every year, which is very easy to do in the building industry because our projects are high value. But if you're actually not making the gross profit and then net profit, if your gross profit's high and then your net profit's low because all of your expenses are too high, there is no point to being in business.
And there's also, guys, as well, one thing that and I know, like we've been through this journey with a number of clients over at Tradiematepro, where we've dived deep into the different income sources within their business model. So say, for example, they're like a maintenance plumber, or they're a plumber and they have a maintenance division and a construction division. And you can dive, and their construction division is returning, 70% of their annual turnover, but it's taking up something like, 80-90% of their resource, and their profit margins on that specific area of their business are a pittance to what it is within their maintenance division. So the largest income maker for their business, and their profits go through the roof. Like, these are things that you need to take into consideration, and it's not obvious. Like, this stuff is not obvious, because if you look at the finance turnover, you go, oh, great, we're doing good. But then when you dive deep into these things, you realize that there are certain things that you need to get a little bit more granular understanding of. And certainly find a good bookkeeper, and we can connect you guys with the right people for this sort of thing. You know, have a good bookkeeper, have a good accountant, have a good HR person that you can call on for things, safety related things, compliance, all these kind of things. These are the people that you want to have within your community, within your reach. And if you don't, you'll inevitably end up stumbling across people that may not be able to deliver on what they say, which has certainly been my experience. I went through 4 accountants until I found the one that I finally settled on.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I think, guys, I just want to talk. I mean, with respect to the fact that we're sort of getting on a little bit here, and we should probably. I know a few of you guys may have some questions that you might want answered. I just want to know that you guys know that we do have some things that can help you. So for any of you guys that are for any of you guys that are on this call, certainly over at Tradiematepro, we've put together a little 7-part free series of content for you. Go and grab that. Well, I'll give you the link in a second. Tradiematepro is a content machine. We're constantly creating useful resources for you guys. And then that aside, all of the experts that are part of the Tradiematepro expert community are also content machines. So there's an unbelievable reach of incredible content that's put out there by some really, really clever people on various areas of expertise. So I really encourage you guys to get in that space. You don't have to buy anything. Like, I know you haven't started a business yet. Like, we're not trying to sign you up to anything, but certainly start learning and getting involved in that space, because there's a lot of useful content out there that's extremely relevant to where you guys are, if not at right now, certainly where you will be once you get the wheels moving. We've got some really good we've got community calls and things like that as well, where you can sort of get involved and listen to people that are actually, in the trenches, pardon the pun. We run workshops and all this kind of stuff. And again, none of this stuff costs you anything. You can just come along and get involved, We've also got an amazing bookkeeping software, which is called Xero, Xero. And I say there's 2 programs that every business owner should get, and one of them, Xero is one of them, and Google's G Suite, or whatever, Google Workplace, they renamed it to yesterday, is the other one. But anyway, we can get you guys access to Xero for $5 a month.
And to put that into perspective, we pay $65 a month for business Xero membership.
Yeah.
So
$5.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. How do we get that?
Yeah.
There's just fees that Dan's moaning about.
Yeah.
and that program, guys, I'm not even kidding, that will give you an incredible insight to your business, your departments, your chart of accounts, like all that kind of stuff. It's an amazing business tool. So definitely get hold of that. You also get access to a program called ServiceMate, which is a job management tool. It may or may not suit builders, I don't know, but it's 50% off for 12 months. So again, maybe just dip your toe in and get an understanding of how job management software works. And if you like it, sure, go right ahead. Tradiematepro is giving a 30% discount on the business builder service. So for you guys that are actually serious about starting a business, take that up. I just can't tell you enough. I've spoken to every business coach in Australia and every business coach probably in North America on my podcast. And I can tell you the Tradiematepro program is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
And then
Matt, do you mind just explaining exactly what Tradiematepro is?
Yeah, I mean, I can run through it. It's essentially a business training resource for businesses. So the idea there is to help you guys streamline your path to success and avoid some of those obstacles that you're inevitably going to run into if you don't have the right people and the right tools in your corner. So, I mean, a lot of the things we touched on today are things that we will help you guys address in far more detail. There's more information on the website. I could talk about it for hours, but to be honest, if you guys are interested, go and check it out, because it will serve you very well to have. It's an extremely good start to your business journey, having something like that available at such a huge discount. And then we're also giving you guys, if any of you guys that are after websites, like we're going to do websites for you guys at 30% off as well. So that's another big start. And again, all this information, guys, if you head across to, I don't know if you've got the link there, Brett, but it's tradiematepro.com.au/student.
Yeah.
So
all right, I'll put it up. I don't think the guests can see the chat pod.
well, I
don't
can't
think
see it
the guests
myself.
can
So
see it, but I'm just answering and pretty much
you're
uploading
videoing.
stuff
Okay.
that's talking about.
And
Cool,
I think
cool.
to give you some insight into that,
We-
years ago, Dan and I did
Business
coaching with a company that was really reputable, that we'd done a lot of research to find. We spent $40,000 in 1 year on coaching with someone who'd never owned a business.
That for me,
We learned nothing out of that except what not to do. And you know what? Actually, when we were doing that, during that particular time was when we had made the error on our job and
we nearly went
lost
under.
all that money.
The business really went under. We're so fortunate we found a way out of it. But I mean, 45 grand on someone who'd never ran a business, pretty much just telling us what they're reading and telling us stuff was an absolute joke. And that's why this is why we've teamed up with Tradiematepro. Everyone, all the experts involved run their own successful businesses. They've all had the highs and lows. They can guide you and help guide your business to be successful.
Yeah.
And that is why we're involved with this, because we don't want to see people go through what we had to go through, and we're fortunate we got through it. I know so many builders that have gone under here in Melbourne, and it's one of the worst things to witness to guys.
Even just the support and the community and, the culture within something like Tradiematepro. I just wish we had that 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. I'm sure we can share more information on that. But again, the website URL is tradiematepro.com.au /student. All right, shall we do some Q&A, Brett?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, guys. Can I just quickly say, when you talk Dan and Dani talking about running a business, when we actually started this course at the start of the year, every time we do it, we always say by the end of this course, you're not going to want to run a business. Every time. So that's great, and it's really good to some of the software technology that you're talking about. We've been using as well in the class. They've been looking at Buildertrend. We have used Cordell's. We actually were in discussion with Xero to get some programs going, but that didn't get up and running. But we're going to do that next year. But thanks, guys. That's exactly what we've been pushing for and how we've been teaching this year. What you've been talking about. So it's really helped. Boys and girls, we still got about 70 odd in the classroom, which is excellent. Do you just want to jump in and throw some questions at them? Even Johnny or Trev, Andrew, if you've got any questions, please throw it at them. Because what we'll also do is, I suppose, Matt, we'll get all the links and from Matt and Travis and forward all the information to everyone.
Yeah, again, my chat doesn't work, so I can't actually post.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah, sorry. What I'll do is I'll get it off you at a later date and I'll send it to the students. The guests can't see the chat pod. Yeah.
Sure.
So anyone want to throw some questions at them?
You must have answered everything, Dan.
Yeah.
So overwhelming. And guys, this is not to we have so much fun along the way to get to where we are, and I would not change our journey for anything.
Yeah, I would. I wouldn't want to lose 50 grand on myself. It's a trip to Europe, thanks.
But we wouldn't be where we are today if we hadn't gone through that particular situation. And we definitely have our highs and lows. But at the end of the day, we know 100% that this is what we want to be doing and where we want to be.
It sounds like we say, it sounds daunting, but one of the most rewards you'll get being a builder is handing over a project and seeing your clients be that emotional at what you produced for them. Yeah, it's an amazing feeling, and that's why I love this job. That's why I do it.
And you're
creating a home, their dream. People have been saving their lives to build their dream home, and you're delivering that to them. It's an amazing feeling.
It's for a lot of your clients, it's likely to be the biggest investment that they will ever make, and that's amazing to be the one responsible for delivering that.
Yeah.
We're open.
Yeah, guys.
Andrew, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, I've just got a question. It's like for everyone when they first start out, especially our young tradesmen, that will be tradesmen, and where did you start? Like, what was the first job? Because that's, as you were saying earlier, it's pretty daunting. But what type of work did you actually start in? Because there's a lot of fields, but whereabouts did you guys start?
So I went way back. I finished school, became a carpenter, finished my apprenticeship. Wasn't confident enough to start my own business, so ended up subbing to my boss at the time, who I did my apprenticeship with, and then I went in and worked for a company because again I wasn't confident enough to run a business way back then.
Confident or competent?
Both.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I was saying. I don't think there's any. I did the same thing, and I encourage people to do that because you never know. Like you can go and work for a company, and if it's a good company and they have some sort of career path, like it might lead you into some sort of management position where you learn management skills. So you can learn those things with somebody, which is amazing. So.
And that was working with companies through all my 20s, mid-20s. I ended up becoming site manager and doing things like that for different companies where you do learn all the skills. Communication was a big one with clients and with trades.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like taking on your first job as a builder, like I mentioned earlier on in the process of this interview. It's one of the most daunting things you'll probably do, but the most exciting as well.
But in terms of actually winning that project, we got that referral through a friend. Knew that these people were looking for a builder. They put us forward. We went through that tender stage. As I said, we were really cheap. We didn't realise, but that's all part of it. And we're grateful that those people took a punt on us. They were the loveliest people, took a punt on us to build their home, and we still are in contact daily now. They joke about us getting us out to Bendigo where they've relocated to build their dream home. Well,
they've sold their house, and now the people who bought the house are now re-employing us to do more styling and stuff for them. So it's amazing sort of story, that one in itself.
Yeah, but you will win work through all different avenues. It's just a case of actually putting yourself out there, and that can be really daunting alone, just having the confidence to actually do that. But if you believe in your skill set, if you believe in your offer, if you believe that you can deliver, you should have no reason.
Take it on.
And that is, to be fair, that is a very hard part of starting.
Just to expand on that, sorry.
Hey,
just to expand on that, what you answered there. So what stage did you actually start to say, right, I want to start to go up against other builders and start actually competing against other builders?
I mean, we're very unique from a lot of people. We were on the block twice, so that was a whole completely different experience altogether. But after the block, we own a builder place, and I remember when we finished it.
It was a nightmare.
Nightmare build. Went way over budget. What took so long to build? But I remember at the very end, we had a lot of people come through it, and they say, "This is an architectural build. You should be your own builder." And we're like,
okay.
It took us a while to probably get the confidence to do that, but hearing architects say that to us, we're like, okay, maybe we can do this.
Yeah. And, we went out there originally as residential builders, and we've expanded on our offering. We now have full building design, interior design, and build. So we're a full D&C. We don't exclusively build our own homes all the time. We work with other creatives, other architects and designers. But we love to build our own projects because that's where we started. We designed and we built our own home at the start. And, people recognised that we had a skill set there. We were doing something we'd never done before. We'd exposed ourselves to something we'd never done before, and we just took a risk.
Yeah.
We basically just took a risk. Dan had...
But I'll be like a lot of people on this call. I was a carpenter, apprentice who became qualified, who became a site manager. I then went into a bit of shop fitting to learn finer detail, and then became a builder.
Yeah.
That was my journey.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question? Did you ever get to a stage where you dreaded your job? I know for me personally, I grew from a carpenter, leading hand, and then I got to a site manager for a medium commercial size company, and because the culture was old school culture, I got to a stage where I actually dreaded going to work as a site manager, and it was a 70-hour week.
Yeah, 100%, Brett. I went through a big thing when I was about 26, 27, I think it was. I said to Danny, I want to change industries. I'm a bit over it. I've been doing it for 10 years now. It's a bit stale. I think I wanted to get the personal training, but
he wanted to be a helicopter pilot and a
then
personal trainer. And
but I was lucky enough. We got onto the block, and that regenerated something in me where I'm like, nah, this is my industry. This is what I want to be
at
in.
the time, though, I mean, you were doing commercial shop fitting, which was
I was doing 100-hour weeks like you were.
Yeah.
It was crazy deadlines. I was
and the
just
money.
tired.
The money's great, but what are you actually getting at the end of the day? And for some people, that's fine. They're content with that, and full respect to those people. But for us, we knew that that's not.
I was burnt out.
Dan didn't want to continue on that path. I was working in finance. I kind of got to the point where I don't want to do this anymore. I needed to do something creative, especially after going on the block and being exposed to a completely different industry. Well, a couple of different industries, really. So it was really at that point where we thought, yeah.
And I think everyone will probably go through it in their mid to late 20s, whether they want to stay in that industry or not. And I would always say, stay in our industry. It is an amazing industry, and we are the backbone of Australia. There's always work there. There's going to be a lot more coming up. And if you get it right, it can
be really rewarding.
Rewarding, and you can live a great lifestyle with that. Being your own boss, even as a subby. But you can take days off. You can play golf. You can go surfing when you want, and still make good money.
We do definitely have days still today where I question what is this for? Everyone has off days, and COVID's been really hard. We've had 2 major jobs, which was a combined $1.8 million in revenue for us, pushed back from June with no start date yet. So when you take hits like that in your forecasts for the year, it can be really, really, just kick you while you're down, basically. But I know that I'm confident in where we are, who we are, what's coming, that we'll ride that out. So there are definitely days where, we do question, we might have a bad day with a client, or one of our staff might be having a bad day, or, a million different things can happen. But it's just remembering the end goal and why we're doing this.
Can I ask how COVID went for you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. It's tough. We're in the hardest lockdown in the world, I think we went through.
It's like 7 months and counting now, basically, that we've been in a lockdown.
It's a full roller coaster of emotions down here. But again, we're just very lucky that we were able to keep working. And I was able to go to site. It's had its challenges. We're only allowed to have 5 guys on site. So everything's, the job schedules are all blown out. It's costing everyone money, but we're not in our house. We're out on site working. So we're grateful for that.
I'm in my house. I'm not outside on site. So that's been challenging. But do you know what? We have been a little bit quieter than what we would normally be. Our sweet spot is generally running around 3 to 4 projects of varied values at any one time. We're only running 2 at the moment. We'll be handing 1 over at the end of this month, and we'll be hopefully starting another one in early November. But then come December, we'll probably have 4 on the go. So we've used this time, and this has been a big word within the entrepreneurial community and the Tradiematepro community throughout the last kind of 4 or 5 months, is learning to pivot. So, we've identified the challenges, we've identified the opportunity, because in every challenge there is opportunity. You need to remind yourself of that. We've identified all of those elements, and we have hustled like you would not believe to create and refine further offerings within our business and further opportunities for expansion within our business.
And this, next year, 2021, looks like it's going to be a biggish year by a mile. We've got, I think, 8 jobs already in line so that's amazing already. And I know Melbourne is about to go through another mini boom once we get out of it. Sydney and New South will be doing the same thing.
Yeah. And I think as well with that sort of thing, it does bring a whole new realm of opportunity and potential issues. Like when all of a sudden you've gone from running 3 jobs in a year to all of a sudden having to run 8. Like this really ties in hard to what we were saying in relation to having the right processes in place, and having a good recruitment policy in place, and all these kind of things, right? Because you can't just go from running 3 projects to running 8 in a year and expect to not have any friction. You're gonna hit obstacles. But I suppose the beauty of, and what we've seen, especially in the community, is because like people that, like when you're running your business and you're passionate about it, like you want to make positive change, and you want to see these things as opportunities, not as these, like, and let's be honest, we're going to see more of this. Like this is when I left TAFE, we went through, like, there was the global financial crisis and all this kind of stuff, and 9/11 and, now there's COVID and, in 10 years time, there's going to be something else. Like, don't kid yourself otherwise. So
maybe.
Hey?
The vaccine for COVID, maybe.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, like, you've got to be receptive to these things, and not reactive. You've got to be willing to, understand that, like, things are going to happen, and it's how you approach it and how you respond to it, which is really going to define you in just pulling through or going under,
It's a regular conversation that we have, is being proactive and not reactive. If you spend your life being reactive of one situation to the next, you'll drown. Yeah, honestly, you have to just maintain what you're about, your business. In challenges, there's always opportunities. So you need to be able to identify what those opportunities are, and you will learn to do that. You might not be able to at the start, but you definitely will learn. And it's just about cashing in on those opportunities, because you know what? We're all in this to make money and to be happy. So,
It ties in as well, guys, to like something that if I can communicate one thing to you, it's don't be overly dependent on any one person or body. Yep. When you start your business, don't go all in doing government contracts, because if something happens, you're screwed. Like, and I can't stress this enough. They say if I don't know where I read this, but if you get 30%, if you're getting 30% of your work, more than 30% of your work through one avenue, then you're exposed. Yep. And that means, if that part of your business collapses, and it's 30%, you can kind of manage. If it's 50%, you're really going to struggle,
Yep. And that's one of the reasons why we added the end-to-end offering to our business. We have 10 design and building and interior design projects on the go. 80% of those will convert to construction. So we identified that we needed less reliance on outside creatives, architects and designers. We needed to be creating the jobs for ourselves, so that we only have to hustle for one type of work, which is the design work. But as I said, we don't knock back construction work if it fits with our mold, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And to everyone starting off, start reaching out to, like I said, different trades, get your playbook ready, even reach out to some architects.
Absolutely.
Just, draftspeople in your area, architects, start letting them know that you're on the scene. Yeah. And then in 2 or 3 years' time, you might win a job or two off them.
Start liking their posts on Instagram. Start commenting on
communication.
Instagram. They will see you. Trust me, they will see you, and they will take notice when you're repeating that communication. Don't be afraid to direct message people. Earlier this year, we went through and we identified last year, and we identified our 30 top people that we wanted to work with in Melbourne in terms of architects. And we contacted them. We set this motion in play of gentle kind of communication with them, like via Instagram, doing all of those little bits and pieces. And it was a process over 6 months before we eventually said, you know what, stuff this, let's email them. So we did, and we introduced ourselves and we told them what we were about. We were funny and silly and, basically everything that we are. And we already know it's going to lead to a job or two next year, which to the value is going to be over $2 million worth of work for us. So it's starting that process now, guys. Start that communication with local architects or draftspeople. No one knows who you are unless you make yourself known.
Yeah.
Would you guys suggest working as a couple, as a partnership, or has that worked for you guys?
I mean, it has, now that we have clear roles and responsibilities. That's clearly defined. There's ego gone on both sides.
Look, at the start, it was hard. Yeah. And there's a lot of couples that say it is hard to work and knowing when to stop work and becoming a couple at night.
Yeah.
But we've worked it all out now. And like Dani said, it's letting go of the egos.
Yeah. And I think, I hear a lot of stories. I'm part of a Facebook group of women whose partners are tradies or business owners. And there's a lot of banter back and forth around the frustrations that the female partners have with the male partners of not listening, they don't feel heard. And, Dan and I have actually just done a leadership course because it's something that we're both really passionate about, and understanding how to communicate better. And that's one of the things that was really outlined and driven home, was the fact that the people that you work with, they want to be seen and they want to be heard. So if you're constantly not allowing that to happen in your own relationship or the relationship with the people who work for you, you're probably not going to succeed. So, as a partnership, we have to make sure that that's happening. We constantly have to be hearing each other and seeing each other to understand.
I can't hear.
Yeah, I've lost them.
Just turn yourself off, Dion. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
About clearly defining the roles and responsibilities, basically, and then it should, in theory, work.
And look, when it works, it's great because we can have a lifestyle together.
And when it doesn't, we just hate each other for a few hours or a day, and then it's kind of
move on.
I win, and it's back to normal.
Yeah.
Do be very careful though, Dion, with partnerships in general. Like anything where any sort of part, especially when you're starting out, it seems like it's a great idea to go into business with a mate because you're kind of halving your responsibilities and halving your expenses, but it can really fall apart very quickly. And so I almost encourage people to not go down that path until they really understand what Danny was talking about, as in, first of all, equity stake, and then of course, roles, responsibilities, buyout agreements, all these kind of things. It certainly shouldn't be something you come up with down at the pub on a Friday afternoon with a buddy.
Absolutely. And, I've been burnt in the past. I went into business with someone who I met while filming the block. And
we thought was a friend.
We fully thought they were a friend. And they literally screwed us, and we were short 40 grand, which in hindsight, it's the lesson for me. But they did the wrong thing. And it was like I was grieving not only the loss of the business, the fact that we didn't succeed. So there was so much ego involved. I was grieving the loss of the friendship, the loss of the money. It put friction on our relationship. So all of those kinds of things. So, as Matt said, you need to have the appropriate agreements in place. You need to really know who the person is that you're going into business with. But then, when things turn sour, if they turn sour, people can be really shady. So just being 100% confident that that's definitely the way that you want to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tricky one because I'm thinking about doing it with my wife because we renovated our house together, and I found it really good. I just much prefer working with her than sort of any other construction sites. So, but also saying that if things do go sour, that's a divorce.
There's always going to be tough times.
If you've renovated with someone and gotten through it, I think that's a strong.
That's the test.
Talk to us in 5 years' time about that, Dion.
Yeah. If you've travelled with someone for a long period of time, if you've renovated together, we've done 2 blocks together, we've travelled together, and we've renovated together. So it would take us a lot to separate our partnership. But, we are also, when we're working, it's all business. And the emotion is taken out of it, basically. And you have to make the right decision for your business.
Yeah.
Can I jump in and ask? I really want to know about the first, what you would consider high value contract that you did, and if you remember the biggest lesson that you learnt from that.
Yeah.
Like that jump from doing sort of your smaller work and then you land this high value contract. What was the biggest lesson that you learnt from that contract?
At the time or now? Because there's 2 different answers there.
Can we have both?
The one that we spoke about before. So that was our first major high value.
I think it was a $330,000 contract.
No, the Doncaster.
No, I'm talking about very first.
Oh, the very first job.
So very first job was about $330,000 contract.
Yeah.
Biggest lesson now was we didn't know what we made on that job. There was no job tracking. We didn't have the systems and processes in place at the time.
But when we progressed from, turning over jobs of that size, the next biggest job we did was the $800,000 job that we mentioned about before. We took a massive hit. We made no money on the job, but literally still today, it's our highest seen job. It refers us the most clients. We had a really tough time with the client at the time. So that was another big learning, was client relations. We had too much ego when we were doing that job at the time.
Yeah.
And, I look back now and I'm ashamed of some of the interactions that we had with the client because we were just too green. We didn't understand how this person thought or operated, and we were probably quite disrespectful to him at times, which is so bad.
Yeah. So the mistake we made there was we went from a $330,000 contract, which we probably should have done 3 or 4 more of them before we went to an $800,000 contract.
We grew too quickly.
We thought, right, we've nailed this small one, we can go straight to the next one. But the mistake we made up there in quoting was 50 grand loss off the profit straight away.
Plus there was, the job went so over budget on general labour because we really didn't understand working on that type of home. It was very different to the other homes that we'd worked on. But, as I said, it still remains to be one of our biggest marketing tools, the image set that we have from that. And now we've completely repaired the relationship with the client, and they're on our referral list. When we are talking to new people, they can call them and they talk very candidly. And we still take potential clients through that job because we're so incredibly proud of the detail in that job.
That's cool.
But your first job, I mean, you're going to get a lot of confidence when you do deliver a product that you're happy with and the client's happy with. That gives you the confidence to keep going on. And that was a big learning thing for me.
Yeah.
I didn't nail everything else in the business side, but I nailed the product. And for me, that mattered most.
I think one of the biggest learnings throughout our entire journey, though, is definitely keeping ego in check. It is so easy to get carried away with just from anything. If the job looks amazing, if your relationship's amazing with the client, if you made money on the job, there are so many points where you can get carried away and you constantly ground yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Right, that helps, yeah.
If it's still free, I was also wondering about social media. Do you guys think that in this day and age it's more of a necessity as opposed to an option?
100%.
Within your business?
100%.
100%. Because a prospective client's going to go straight to social media first and look at what you do and look at the work, the style of work, maybe comments on it.
Okay.
Your social media presence is going to be so important because that essentially is the quickest and easiest way that someone can relate to you, either on like a conversation level, so how you talk and how you communicate in your posts. On a visual level, do you even do the kind of work that their project is? So there's so many aspects around social media. And in client engagement, how engaging actually are you on social media? Are you really open and transparent? And we are, on our social channels, and we get probably 90% of our work is social media referrals. So building a really strong and authentic social media platform is one of the most important marketing tools that you have.
And even on the flip side is that as a builder, if we're going into a region that's a bit far away from my trades, I'll go to social media. I'll look at who's the trades down there, who's the bricklayers, who's the plasterers doing all the good work. Okay, so these guys, I'll look at their jobs, then I'll contact them, see if they want to work with us.
Yeah.
So it's even as a subcontractor, you do need it these days.
We had a call this afternoon with a prospective client, and there was like 3 or 4 occasions where I referred someone or mentioned someone that we work with, and I directed them straight to their Instagram handle. They were on Instagram. They were able to look up, oh, yeah, cool. They look nice. Oh, yep. Instant tool.
Yeah. And you guys can be starting all that now, even as subbies or, you know, as an employees. If you're a chippy, even hanging a door and the 3 mil margin's perfect, start taking photos of that.
People will appreciate it.
You check out and your hinges are perfect. Take your photo. This is the quality of work that I'm doing.
One of our most engaging posts over the last month has been a post where we've been laying park tree flooring at a project. The photo was taken through an archway that has a full barrel ceiling. It's about 2 meters long, full barrel ceiling through an archway that's got beautiful lamb's tongue detailing around it. There was 1 or 2 strips of herringbone floor laid. It was site, so it wasn't perfectly tidy, but it wasn't messy. There was a tub of glue off the side. There was steel doors in the background. So there were lots of beautiful and interesting details that people were drawn to and looking to. The conversation was insane on the post. It got like 700 likes. Normally we would average around 1% of our following would be what you should be getting in terms of likes on photos. So that was one of the highest engaging posts that we've had in the last month, followed up by a post last night where we posted about an incredible light that was being installed in the job. And we did a carousel of the progress, and people were like, holy shit, look what's gone into hanging this incredible light. They could see, what went behind it. The fact that this light was from the 60s, it was original, it weighed an absolute ton. There's scaffolding in the stairwell to be able to even reach to put it up. So there was a lot that went into
so much
it.
content you guys could be doing as carpenters or subbies, site managers, the jobs that you're working on. Just start taking photos, build that content.
Yeah.
Tag and
tag brands. If you're using different tools, tag them.
Yeah.
Don't feel shame in tagging people. You know, that's how people see you.
Yeah.
You know, I know that there's a lot of different tradie pages and builder pages out there, like networking pages and stuff. And one of them is the Tradie Lady Club. So she's a female builder, and lots of people tag her because she might see something she likes and post it. She's got a huge following.
Yeah.
So that's the way that you'll make connections with people that you are gravitate to, or people that you feel might be of value to you and you to them.
And it's like we said earlier, it's a way you can start communicating with architects you may want to work with in the future.
Yeah.
Start liking their posts, start commenting on their posts, and they see you.
Yeah.
You're in their head.
I think it's important though for you guys. I mean, the social media stuff should definitely be part of your strategy, but not your entire strategy. And that's where we see a lot of people like invest too heavily into things like, you know, Facebook and whatever, and not working on their own asset. You know, like it's important, but it becomes part of your brand strategy. You know, it's not like the brand strategy.
Yeah,
exactly. And we're kind of at a point where all of our different assets, they sit really nicely amongst each other. One couldn't survive without the other, basically. So, you know, we're in a nice position now where we've been able to get to that point. It took us like 5 years, but, you know, we're there, and everything is very aesthetically, you know, the same, which is why we're personal branding experts with Tradiematepro. We put a lot of work into making sure that we're presented nice. We're building people's homes. We're designing people's homes. If we can't convey that, I guess, how we look on our social media channels, then what have we really got? We can't, you know, or if our website is shit, how's someone ever going to know that we build beautiful architectural homes?
I've got a question from Brad that wants to know is what you're offering. Does that include tools used to estimate?
If what we're offering?
Yeah.
As
something like, do you have a Cordell system, or is it like Build Exact?
No, well, not as such.
I think it is.
Not as such, but what we do have is one of the experts in the community is like a cloud specialist, and what they do is they essentially look at your business and they will help you define the right program or suite of programs that's going to be the right fit for your organization. The power in that is insane, I should qualify, because there are so many programs, apps, and solutions out there, and understanding which one's going to be the right fit for you and your business could be the difference between you filtering through 20 of them on your own and still not finding the right one. There's also a lot of, like with technology, it's kind of as good as, the technology is as good as what you put into it to a large degree, and understanding what that piece of technology can offer entirely is really valuable, because typically speaking, with some of these bigger programs and tools, well, you'll find that, or we find anyway, that, you know, a lot of our clients and community members might use this tool to 10% of its capacity and not really understand what it really can deliver on. So it really does pay to like have somebody that can guide you in that response. In answer to your question, no, we're not like an app ourselves. We're not like an app provider. We just have, you know, relationships with some of these programs just due to the nature of the Tradiematepro business. But yeah, again, there's not really like a one glove fits all scenario for businesses. You've kind of got to figure out which suite of tools is going to be the right fit for you, and it could be based off a number of things. Like if you, for example, if you're an Apple user or you're a Macintosh user, you know, or Microsoft user, you know, there's different programs there's some programs that only work on Mac, and there's some that work on, you know, all, and there's some that work on Microsoft. So like there's heaps of variables there.
And unfortunately, guys, every builder uses different systems. And that's the reality around it. It's taken us a while to understand which ones work for us. And Clinton from Tradiematepro really helped us there. But it's not one fits everyone. You got to find what works for you.
Yeah, for our business, we've had to consider all the different facets and income streams, the design work, the architectural work, the building work. Everything requires something different. So it's being able to find the sweet spot of the suite that works for us, which again is that good old subscription code in Xero that Dan's
it just kills me that there's not a program out there that really nailed for builders. There's nothing really that just does everything for us yet.
You'll never find a tool that does everything. It just doesn't. It doesn't exist. And in fairness to the technology or the company providing that tool, if they tried to be everything to you, they'd end up being nothing.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you're better off having a Xero that does bookkeeping really well, Build a Trend or ServiceMate or Tradify or a Scorer or Aeroflow, whatever it is, that do what they do really good. And then the power, what we're seeing now in the technology space is the evolution of integration. And that's why we say to guys, if you get the two tools that we recommend, Xero and Google Workplace. Why? Because they integrate with everything. And like now there's so many amazing tools and softwares that are coming available on the marketplace. You want to get in bed with something that can integrate with something else that you're using, because the one program will never do everything.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Any more questions, boys and girls? I suppose just for me, one point is, I'm not sure it's been mentioned, but we always go on about planning. And Dan and Dani mentioned about going to the hardware, and we always say you should not ever be driving to the hardware. I put my hands up and admitted, I think once I did it 3 times in one day, and I'm like, that would be 3 hours of wasted work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's poor planning. So Are there any other questions, anyone?
I mean, that ties heavily into like strategy, project management, and just being organised, So
100%. Just simply thinking about the job and building it, Matt. Yeah, 100%.
We used to moan about delivery fees. Now we're like, give me all the delivery fees because it's activity and efficiency for us on site. You know?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. All right. Any other questions, boys and girls? Well, I think no. I think you guys have exceeded our expectations. Thank you so much, Dan and Dani, Matt, and Travis. Is there anything else anyone wants to jump in? Travis, Matt?
No, pretty keen to crack a beer. So
I think everyone is. I can see some tired-looking students that go, all right, come on, let's go. But thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated. And we'll let you know how the students go by the end of the year. We might send who's become a builder and who's actually maybe become a teacher at TAFE, possibly.
who we scared off.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
If anyone's got any questions or any other things that they want to know or didn't want to ask in front of the group, honestly, just reach out to us on social media.
Just direct message us.
What's your mobile number, Dani?
Yeah. We're more than happy, guys, to help you out. Wish you all the best of luck.
Yeah.
It is an amazing feeling being a builder and delivering a good product to clients. So
smash it. You guys will be epic.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you. Thanks once again. All right. So for my students, I'm going to sit around for the next 10 minutes. I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to put it up in the team site. So I'm going to sit around for another 10 minutes. But once again, thanks, Matt, Trav, Dan, and Dani, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Bye.
Thanks for your time, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording. I'll sit by